Hi everyone, my name is Melissa Heinlein. I am the Chief of Voluntary Service at the VA Medical Center in Philadelphia. Thank you so much for joining us today as we just go through a few slides to introduce you to the My Life, My Story program that we have here at the Medical Center. This is a quote from a veteran. "This is a great way to improve provider understanding and decrease bias and eliminate first impression issues, as people are generally ill and cranky when seeing medical care. The program is to get to know patients as people rather than a diagnosis, someone who has high blood pressure, chronic heart failure, um, diabetes, etc. The goal is to strengthen the relationship between patients and providers. We want to be able, particularly during this time of the pandemic, where providers who are not seeing their patients face to face, but perhaps virtually, and they just take some time getting to know their patients in a different way. This is a quote from an employee. The My Life, My Story note was wonderful. I truly feel it has helped me understand my patients better and to know where they are coming from. This is invaluable to the VA, where experiences shape our patients in such a profound way. We want to be able to link and connect patients with their providers and vice versa. So something to think about, things to ask yourself, these questions, what are you hoping to gain from this type of storytelling, and what's your comfort level with interviewing and writing? Essentially, you're just going to feel like you're sitting down talking to someone, maybe at your kitchen table, but you're just going to be doing it over the phone or maybe through Google Hangouts. But it's a great opportunity just to talk to people. Veterans have a chance to leave a little part of their legacy on their patient record. I'm not going to share this link, but you do want to be able to click on it, watch it. It just tells a story about a veteran named Betty. Once you get through that video, because storytelling and visual storytelling was put in the hands of everybody, you have all now become storytellers. You now have been commissioned to tell the stories of veterans in their voice, creatively, in their own words, and in about 800 to 1,000 words. That is exactly what you're going to be doing. So veterans are being identified through our Compassionate Care Corps volunteers. So these are volunteers who are calling veterans to support the Project Happy Birthday Wishes. And while wishing them a happy birthday, volunteers are asking veterans if they want to share their story. And if the answer to that is yes, they're going to contact Voluntary Service and Patient Advocate, and we're going to reach out to them and confirm that they do want to be interviewed. By this time, you should have filled out the volunteer application to be able to know what the interview consent form is. So that's something that we're going to take care of in voluntary service. And because of the pandemic right now, we don't have the availability for recorders. So there's a couple of ways to be able to do it, to pair up where someone will conduct the interview and then someone else will be able to take down the notes. You can do it solo. And then being able to maybe record the story, but that story will be need to be deleted after the story is finalized. It cannot be kept on any personal equipment. So while we received a verbal yes for the veteran to participate, you'll also need to acquire a verbal consent form over the phone. We will take care of mailing the consent forms to the veterans and having it come back to us. We're going to scan it in, but we're also confirming the veteran's interest and let them know who will be making that initial contact. So once we pair you up, we'll let the veteran know that you will be contacting them directly. This is just a copy of the consent form that we're going to take care of on our own, but just so that you know that if for some reason the veteran hasn't returned it, you can just kind of describe it, what they would have received. How to prepare for it. So again, we're letting veterans know that the purpose of the program is to interview veterans to find out things that they would like to know, like to have their providers know about them. And the reason why we keep it to about 1,000 words or less is so that providers can take time to read it. So we're only looking at a page or page and a half. Initially the program started in response to providers who felt as though they didn't have enough time to get to spend with their patients and get to know them better. So this is a great way to do it. And some of the categories and subjects that veterans have been talking about, not necessarily their military or their military career, but maybe their early life, how their parents had molded them, things about their family, their grandchildren, their hobbies, their traveling. So the first draft will be given to the veteran either electronically or via mail. Please copy voluntary service so we know exactly where you are in the process. Veterans can review the story in different ways. Traditionally, you can read the story to them over the phone and make necessary corrections. That's probably the best way to do it right now. Making an appointment with the veteran after you completed the interview, and then reading that story aloud, and they're letting you know what needs to be changed or corrected. But given this time of COVID, it's really best for you just to read the story probably over the phone. Drafts can be mailed to the veterans if they're preferring to have it that way. Just let us know and we can print it out on our end and mail it to them immediately. The process is repeated until the veteran gives that final approval. Initially, the story is completed within 1 to 2 weeks or less, and sending that to voluntary service. And writing is critical to the success of the story. Creativity, while not a creative writing class, or program, it is encouraged to some extent to bring life to the voice and spirit of the veteran. So expectations for the story, and we do highly recommend that you start writing that story immediately while it is fresh in your mind. Don't wait a couple of days for that story to be written. The turnaround time for the story, should be within that 7 to 10 business days for the veteran to review. Anything beyond this and the veteran and you may lose interest. And we want you to stick with the commitment. If something comes up, don't just ignore communicating with voluntary service. We have a list of veterans whose stories we want to capture, and if it's not completed, we'll just reassign that veteran to someone else. Again, contact us immediately with any questions or concerns. Once that veteran gives approval, email that story to us. We're going to review it, make any minor changes that are needed, and then we email that to the Chief of Staff's department, and they're going to upload it to the patient record. So features of a good story is obviously it's written in the first person, so it's the veteran's point of view. We don't want to be non-judgmental. We're capturing the voice of the veteran, how they have described their time maybe in Vietnam, or if they grew up on a farm, if they had many siblings. We want to make sure that the story accurately reflects the content of the interview, and we also want to have this as a non-labeling story. So just take some time to pause for a moment right now and just read a little bit about Earl. This was a story that was captured where he grew up in Georgia on a farm, and that his mom got very upset when he got married because she ended up hanging up the phone. So this slide and this slide are just talking about the stories of Earl. But again, you get a snapshot of what this looks like from the veteran's point of view. So when to call. Many of our veterans are older who you will be calling, but through Project Happy Birthday Wishes, we've had veterans who have been interviewed who have been in their 30s and 40s. But calling between 10 and 2 is usually good for the purposes if you're a PCOM student, that time has already been allocated for you. But if things come up, we can be obviously flexible, but we don't recommend calling past 7 o'clock. We want you to give time for veterans to answer their phones, and please keep in mind that some veterans do not have any iPhones or Androids. So if they have a landline, it might take them some time to go and answer the phone. You'll be able to block your number. You can dial *67. You can create a phone number through Google Hangouts, but the veteran won't be calling you back, but at least we can also have you download the Doximity app that shows that the veteran, that the VA is calling. So we can work you through some of those points if you're having some challenges. But again, we will be contacting the veteran, letting them know your name, who will be calling. So, for those of you who are interested in this program, what will that look like? We have some that interview one veteran. They want 3 veterans at a time. We'll be able to provide you with the name and the contact information. And again, we also need you to send the hours to us so that we can log that into your individual volunteer file. So this is contact information. Again, my name is Melissa Heinlein. I am the Chief of Voluntary Service, and Jareli Morales Cruz is the Voluntary Service Specialist assigned to this program. She is taking the lead on this program and will be able to work with you and get the stories uploaded and, really keeping in contact with you during this time. Thank you so much for joining our team, for considering to join our team if you're a volunteer candidate. It really is a great program. We're setting some goals here in the office as to how many stories we would like to have. Right now we have over 100 veterans on our My Life, My Story list, and that continues to grow on a daily basis. We wish you well, and thank you for being a part of this program.